do that and get that going. And really our agenda is pretty simple tonight. It is basically we're going to kind of introduce ourselves, ask if there's any questions to the class so far, so we're going to open a forum for that. Then I want to talk a little bit about your goals, or maybe actually have you probably share your goals with your name and what you do and that sort of thing here in a minute. And then we'll do look at a couple basically statistic tables that are provided by the Department of Ed on distance learning and sort of the status right now as a point of discussion. So I'll pull up my screen here in a little bit. And it'll probably take take most of our time tonight. I try to keep these to 45 minutes to an hour and try to make them relevant and useful to the course in this kind of point in time. And I actually have been doing this for a lot of years, these live sessions. We used to do them via chat like 15 years ago. We'd all get at the same time in chat, and then the tool would never work very right. I mean, this is like the terminal chat stuff, 2001 era, and it would never work right. And so the technology's come so far. I really like the software we're using tonight. It's called Zoom. So I'm going to orient you to that here in a minute if you're not familiar with it. It'll sort of help with ease of things. So yeah, I think that would be really the feedback I got from students. I actually started assigning this my first time in any course last semester. It used to just sort of be an optional thing, and students really overwhelmingly thought it was a worthwhile experience. I hope you find that too. So this is Zoom, it's just a webinar software, web conferencing software. It happens to be one that Nebraska Extension uses. I have an extension appointment, so I'm able to use it, but it's purchased with like a statewide consortium. So the licenses are like literally for me a year to have this, like $3 or $4 for me to have a license for this for a year. And I can use it in whatever manner I want. So it's awesome. I really had great success with it, not flaking out on people when we're doing this kind of stuff. And it works pretty well, so you can see everybody. So I want to orient you to the software. I'm going to reference, when I say like left and right, it is your left or right as it appears on your screen. Okay. And if I point this direction, it's going to look right to you, but it's actually left on my screen. So I'll try to make sure I don't point and just tell you where to look. Okay. Upper right-hand side of the screen. Your screen may be blank and just have a few faces there. And so I want to show you how you can see everybody and switch sort of views here. This software does a very nice job is when you're not touching anything, not moving your mouse cursor, things kind of go away, so it doesn't cloud what's on the screen. That's good and bad. You kind of have to move your mouse cursor around, or your finger if you're on an iPad. And I want you to go to move your cursor to the upper right-hand side of the screen. Does everybody, just shake your head, yes or no, if you're not showing the video, see a speaker view versus gallery view, or a set of boxes? Might be 9 boxes there, or 3 boxes in 1 box. I want to make sure that you can see everybody. So you're going to click on that box, and it goes from either a view where you see just a few people, those that have talked last or most relevant, and big screen with somebody, or what we call gallery view, which shows everybody that's on the conversation. If they're not live picture, you can capture your picture, or they might be on phone. It's at least going to show you a bubble for everybody that's on the screen. I prefer that gallery view, so you can kind of see everybody at once. It looks like the Brady Bunch. It's the closest thing I can describe it. It's funny that show's still iconic with that scene after 40-some years. So I kind of like that view. On the upper left side of that window, in like all programs, you'll probably have like a meeting, edit, window, file, that kind of stuff. There are some options there for adjusting your preferences for audio. If you ever have multiple microphones, it's up there in that typical, it's called zoom.usmi, it may be called file for you, depending on what operating system. But there's some preference settings in there. Usually you don't have to mess with those, and that's what's kind of nice about the software. The other main section I want to orient you to here is in the lower part of that window that has the Zoom in it. We're looking at all of our faces. If you put your cursor down there, you have a few buttons on the left-hand side of that window. Mute is one. Guess what that does? You hit mute. All right, if I put it back on, you can hear me. That's kind of a very helpful setting for a number of reasons. If you have a dog or crazy kids, or I don't know, gunshots are going off in the background, whatever, you can mute that from everybody else. And I would recommend, unless you're speaking, to mute that, because it keeps the echo down. You can leave it on, that's fine. But if we hear echo and you start hearing it, it's probably your mic. So I would recommend keeping that off when you're not speaking. There's also a stop video. Some of you have figured that out. There's also a start video there if you want people to see you. Yeah, William.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I finally found my everybody else in the group. I'm sorry.
Awesome. And then the lower part of the screen there in the middle there are some other things there, depending upon what your role is. But there is a chat box. Does everybody see that? It looks like a bubble, like a messenger bubble. You click on that, you can chat a message. If you want to ask a question, share something when others are talking, it's a great place to do it. Or if you want to share a resource, like, hey, we were talking about this the other day. Here's a great article I saw. So I just want to orient you to the software here. I think it's very helpful as we go through. Okay? Any questions about that? Awesome. All right. So I'm probably going to call on people to introduce yourself. I don't know. It's either arrogant to start first or it's not. But I'm going to start first so nobody feels uncomfortable, okay? So, hey, I'm Doug Golick, the instructor of the course. I've taught this course for, it's like third or fourth time. This course used to be offered by Jim King in a very different form. Jim King was a professor in agricultural communications, leadership and communications, and he sort of did a lot with sort of program development and distance education. He was sort of one of the early guys in that, especially from the ag and extension side. And it was a very popular course, but it was all theoretical and all pretty much done discussion board. Jim would post papers. So the good thing is you'd read like 50 or 60 real seminal papers in the area, but it was all done via discussion. And when I took the course over, I changed it to be more hands-on. You develop things and learn sort of the basics of teaching via distance ed with a little bit of theory put in there. So it is sort of the vestige of some parts of that course, but it I think in some ways is better, or at least more current. And so I really like this course. I'm one of those people that have an extension and teaching appointment. And, I really like everything I do is about teaching and learning, from my work and to research to the classes I teach. So I think it's fun. I really like this topic, and it's something that speaks to me. So with that, you can learn more about me, 6 nouns. I'm going to be looking at those this week and respond to each of you. I hope you have responded to your classmates. Diane, you and I met for the first time only about a month and a half ago, right? At a Christmas get-together with one of my colleagues. So anyway, Diane, would you like to introduce yourself, what degree program you're in, and maybe one other sort of factoid about yourself or your research or whatever? I have a little trouble hearing you, Diane.
How about now? Can you
Yes,
hear me now?
perfect.
Okay, sorry. I'm using my husband's gaming headset, and I pushed the wrong button. Okay, great. My name is Diane Lally. I am from Kentucky, and I'm in the science literacy, group over in the School of Natural Resources. I'm working toward a PhD, and hopefully we'll be taking comps in the fall, but right now still taking coursework and doing research and writing. And yes, those are my dogs that you saw earlier. I was just playing with the video screen, trying to figure out how that worked.
Great. Thanks for sharing. You got to remember to turn your mic off and on when you speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
Carrie, would you like to do the same? Introduce yourself.
Sure. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. I'm Carrie Nelson, and I am in the Educational Studies PhD program in teaching, learning, and teacher education. And I live in Omaha and teach biology at University of Nebraska, Omaha, but come down to Lincoln often several times a week. And I taught one online course at a nursing college here in Omaha, Clarkson College. It was a writing course for nurses, for a graduate level course, and it was very much like you described this course was previously. I just kind of used what was already set up, and I just hated it. It was not for me at all. So I love teaching in person, and so I'm taking this course because I want to learn how to do a better job of that, because I'm sure any of us going into education are going to be doing this at some point. So hopefully learning these fun tools like Zoom is super cool. Works way better than Adobe Connect, I used in my last class was awful. And so thanks for having me here.
Great. And I will echo, we had used Adobe Connect. I still have a few of our guest lecture assignments. And anyway, yes, I echo. This is much, at least more stable and simpler, which sometimes is better. And I hope I pronounced your name wrong. Right, correct. Glynis, is that right?
Yes, that's right. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
My name is Glennis Pentecost, and I am in the entomology master's program. And I live in Bellevue. I retired from the Air Force in 2011, and I'm working here as a government contractor. I worked for about a year at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service up north at one of the refuges. We did a lot of waterfowl surveys and duck banding and that sort of thing. And I think I would like to learn a little bit more about the aquatic invertebrates and stuff like that as far as the entomology piece. But I have a background in courseware development with the Air Force and some of my contracting I guess, different duties and jobs and stuff that we did. So I'm excited to learn, like, kind of outside of the military construct, how people who actually use more modern technology actually do things. So I'm looking forward to this course.
Awesome. Thanks, Glynis. And we have a number of people that are in the military in our entomology program. So it's always great to see you. And actually, the Air Force was sort of an innovator in a lot of the in other military branches in distance delivery. Goes way back to the 20s, 30s, and a lot of cool instructional technology frameworks and how to design instruction come out of the military. And a lot of the courseware was some of the first was done through the military for online teaching. Now we are using Blackboard this semester, but guess what? UNL is going to a new product called Canvas. I did not move to it this semester, but we'll look at it. The reason is most of my tutorials on how to use the courseware system are done in Blackboard, but we'll go through it and get some familiarity. It's just I have to admit, it's somewhat a convenience thing until I move over to that. There's a lot of hours in showing you how to use things for this course. So apologize about that, but you'll get to, I guess, even a more modern, more user-friendly system in this course as we look through like Canvas and some of the other related products. All right, William, or do you prefer Bill? Would you like to share, and then what you want to get out of this course too as well?
No, that's fine. Yes. My name is William Sledowitz. I am in the MASS program in the specialization of science for educators. I haven't really taught for a living yet, but I have helped with 4-H, and I taught an evening adult class, or a couple of adult classes for Central Community College. They had to do with bookkeeping, agricultural bookkeeping. Those did. I'm trying to find where I fit in the area of agricultural education. I've taken several courses, undergrad courses at UNK, University of Nebraska Kearney, where I have my MBA, and then I came back to where I first got my first degree at UNL, at the Ag College out there. I've got a BS in agriculture with a major in animal science. So I've studied a lot of different areas, and I'm hoping to be able to teach one of them here, I guess, one of these days. So good to see all you guys, and I'm looking forward to this class too.
So, William, are you out of Hastings then, Central Community College, or where?
No, I've been in the Kearney area most of the last 30 years or so. Used to farm down south of Kearney with family operation. I just recently, this last school year, I moved to York. I think it would have been better to move to Lincoln, but I found I'm ended up in York somehow, and this is where I'm kind of commuting back and forth to get my stuff done. But I guess with this class, I don't have to really go to Lincoln that much. So I'm over in York right now, the place where the Rainbow water tower is.
That is, we point that out to our kids. My parents live in Hastings. My wife's parents live near Hastings, and anyway, we always point that out to our kids. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? No, when you see the tower with the rainbow on it, it's halfway.
Yeah,
Still doesn't help. All right, Mackenzie, would you be willing to share a little bit?
Hi, can you hear me? All right, so I'm Mackenzie Peterson, and the dog is looking at me very strangely right now because I'm talking to myself, he thinks. And I'm working on the same literacy group as Diane was talking about earlier. And out of this class, I haven't necessarily had a very good experience with online classes from either perspective. Like, there just isn't a whole lot of buy-in with it. And so, I mean, Zoom is a great improvement off of Adobe Connect for sure. So, like, we're learning about the workload that people are expecting is one of the bigger things, because it seems like online classes, people don't necessarily want to work as much in those. And so it's kind of what's appropriate for an online class. So.
Awesome. It's good to have you in class. And Mackenzie, I've known you for a couple of years through when you were an undergraduate helping with another grad student, which I was on committee for. So it's good to have you in class. And I would agree. Believe it or not, I have scaled back the assignments in this class because even the best students were like, oh my God, you give me a couple things every week. I can't keep up. And it actually has been a better experience for me and the students. For me, less to grade and less stress about like, oh my God, am I given like just busy work? Are they really after students get through halfway or 3/4 through a course and aren't completing stuff at that point, you kind of go, yeah, you hit the saturation point, right? And even the best students. So yeah, I've scaled stuff back. That is a common issue. We'll talk about that a little bit in this course about how much is enough, how much is too much. And a lot of it's just good course design, but for some reason the online environment's a little bit different. And some of that is that transactional distance, which you're reading about this week, that sort of lose something in the middle. People get freaked out and, gosh, I'm not getting direct feedback from my instructor. Like, am I sure I'm ready to go on and do the next part of the assignment? I don't quite understand things. And so what we're doing tonight too is a part of a way to alleviate that a little bit is that engagement. So we get to see each other and go, oh yeah, Dr. Golick, he's not like some incredible, he's like not some monster behind the screen, like, Count Dracula only comes out at night. I only hear him email me through the morning. So maybe he's Dracula. And if I don't do something right, he's going to come get me at night. You actually get to see me and we're sort of human, right? That's part of what we're doing tonight. That helps with a lot of that. So hopefully your experience is better because I know Corey, who's your advisor, and I don't want you to go back and say, hey, Corey, that guy sucks. So anyway, extra pressure this semester. All right, Stephanie, would you like to share?
Yeah, hi, I'm Stephanie Zahorik, and I'm currently taking doctoral courses at the university. However, I have not defined a program or applied to any program yet. I'm still trying to decide that component. I'm currently an instructional designer here at the university and support all formats, blended, online, and face-to-face.
What departments or what college are you stationed in?
I am stationed out of the College of Journalism and Mass Communication 3 days out of the week. I will be starting to also be housed in the College of Architecture, which I've been supporting for some time now. And then I'm also in Brace Lab 1 day out of the week because of the way our team functions. But I also support the College of Fine and Performing Arts and the Gerontology Department.
Now, are you part of Online Worldwide or those folks like Tarek Dar and or are you with the other more tech side?
No, well, Tarek and Sydney and all of us are not a part of Online Worldwide.
That's
We're
changed.
a part of, Innovative Instructional Design. We're under Academic Affairs, I believe now.
Okay, cool.
So we're all still a part of that same team.
Awesome. Yeah, I know a lot of your other colleagues that we just haven't met before. So
Yeah.
awesome. Well, good to have you here. How about Liao? Did I pronounce that right? I probably butchered your name. I apologize.
It's okay. Hi. My name is Lu Yao Liu, and I am a second-year graduate student. My major is community nutrition and health promotion. This is my last semester. I plan to graduate in this May, and ELAC is my minor option.
Awesome. Who do you work with over there, and who's your major advisor?
Kanki, Dr. Kanki.
Okay. Great. Well, it's great to have you in class. What do you hope to get out of the class?
Actually, I have I have taken several online classes, but this one is really interesting that we, through an online class, learn the distance learning is so interesting.
Well, great. Yeah, it is an interesting offering for the course. You actually take a course online that teaches about how to teach online, which
Yeah.
which is almost like a mirror that you keep looking into and seeing the reflection.
Yes.
But anyway, one reason why I like to teach course via distance is the exposure to students that otherwise wouldn't be able to take this course. It's reaches a broad audience, and many of you have taught online, which is exactly kind of what we're going for. All right, let's see. We have two more individuals. Jessica, would you like to go next and share a little bit about yourself and kind of say why you want to take this, why you're taking this class?
Yeah, so my camera's not working. It's something going weird on my phone. But I'm Jessica Lancaster. I am a master's student in meat science. I just started my program here in July. I teach a few courses on campus, mainly evaluation courses of meat and meat animals. And so I'm taking this class to help the meat science department transition over to more online classes and figure out how we can do that with those science fields that are very hands-on based.
Great. That's always a topic. And what I'll probably do is I haven't delved too much in sharing with the class lab courses, but I have a really nice book that does that. And I'll probably throw in some extra resources or maybe even tweak things a little bit to cover that. I've done some of that with the lab. We have an entomology lab that is online, or used to be online. Yeah, so it's a different world when you want to take sort of the hands-on stuff and put it online. So really cool. Diverse class this semester. It's amazing. It's also very awesome. All right, finally, Lauren.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm on a new computer, an old computer, and it seems when the hard drive was rewired, the camera didn't get installed. So I am also a grad student at UNL in meat science. Jessica and I actually share an advisor. So we're kind of both learning about distance ed to help the program and ourselves. In the end, I guess my goal is to be an extension agent so that distant education, as we're getting into the more technology, agricultural based stuff, is important to learn and understand. So that's kind of my goal to get out of the class.
Awesome. I think it's a worthy goal, and I think this kind of exposure really helps because I have an extension appointment. A lot of what I do is via social media. We have a lot of contacts with people around the world and put the education out that way. So it is sort of distance learning in that sense. So really relevant, and it'll help you get a job in extension because that's really where they're heading with a lot of their programming. Who's Jessica and Lauren? Who's your major advisor?
Dr. Ty Schmidt.
I know Ty fairly well, so yeah, he's a good guy. So I've had the pleasure of working with him and his wife a little bit. So great. Okay, well, that was great for introductions. I know we all kind of hate to do that, and it takes a while, but I think it's really important at the beginning of a class. If you show up to others, we may not spend as long doing this. Just kind of, you're our core. You're the 9 or 10 that showed up. So I was counting on you to really make this an engaging conversation. Okay, I want to do a few things tonight. One is, if there's any questions so far in the workings of the course, what you've seen so far, I want to allow a few minutes, a few questions to do that, and then we'll go through an activity and wrap it up. So does anybody have questions? Feel free to raise your hand, or not raise your hand, but just speak. And if we all talk at once, I'll help facilitate that as well. Either I've done a phenomenal job, which I'm sure is not the case because it never happens, or you don't really have questions. Just one last call here.
Actually, this
Yes.
is Stephanie. I was just wondering if it would be at all possible to open up 1 week in advance, just so those of us who have careers can try to get ahead.
Yeah, actually, I worked a little bit tonight on getting the rest of the materials posted for the next week and then the following few weeks. What I'm hoping to do, probably tomorrow, week 4 will be open. We've changed video systems, and I have to get the video for the guest speaker moved to the new system. So that's a holdup on that one. So that one's pretty much ready to go as of this week. And then I'll probably open up the next 3 or 4, or maybe even the rest of them here in the next week or so. So yes, that is always a concern for folks. There's some logic behind that. One is the goods of opening them up, and we'll just talk about this, is that you can work ahead a little bit, or if you spend time on the weekend and that's your main work time, to get sort of a running a head start on things a little bit. One of the reasons why I have assignments due Sunday, if you ever see Friday, nothing's due Friday. It's actually due 11:59 Central on Sunday nights. So you have really a weekend, 2 weekends to work on stuff. And then as we get into the larger assignments, all those will be posted. I do make significant revisions every semester, so I'm always hesitant to open those up too far in advance because I'm afraid I'm going to not catch one of the changes, and then you'll be asking me, well, you said to do this, and then now you're saying not to do that, because I change a lot just based on student feedback. So that's the advantage. It gets people working ahead. The disadvantage of that is, as an instructor, as you're managing a course, this is like you don't have to care about it because you're the students, but as an instructor, this is one thing you should listen about. Is a lot of the success in distance courses for the instructor and students is sort of managing student management issues. So helping students self-regulate a little bit. You're a student that probably wants to work ahead. Most students are not that way. They want to see what's ahead, but they really don't work on it to the last minute. And what I have had happen in the past is I post stuff, and then I get all these crazy questions about stuff we're going to cover in lecture or doing these sort of sessions. And it's and a lot of times it's not in very good context. So students will say, yeah, that assignment where we turn in a paper, what do you mean about turning in the paper? How do I do that? And then I'm like, which paper? We have 3 papers due in the course. And then I go through back and forth email. So one of the ways I've alleviated that a little bit is time release stuff. So however, this semester, Stephanie, I will be releasing stuff a little bit more ahead of time. And so I am aware of that concern. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the answer and the philosophy about approaches to this.
Yep, you nailed it. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. And in this course, I approach sort of some of what I do. So you'll see a couple lectures where I have a talking head, and it looks really bad. I do that on purpose. I think maybe I say that in there. So you can see what a bad version looks like. So you can go, I like that or don't like that. And Mackenzie, you brought that up. You've not had good experiences. I think we've talked about this before. I do some things on purpose so you can see what you like and don't like. And so it kind of freaks you out a little bit, and you're kind of like, God, what the hell is that guy doing? But I do some things like that so you can experience. For me, a lot of learning should be experiential and hands-on. Almost all learning should be that way. And so I try to present you with different things. So anyway, if you hear me talk like this, it's because I'm trying to give you okay, here's what I'm doing for the class, but here's why I'm really doing it. And I know that doesn't always quite make sense, maybe, because it's just how I talk. So any other last questions? All right, so one of my goals is that we have some fruitful discussion, and in any sort of discussion, the goal here is that you are actively engaged, and I'm not the guy that's talking. You are participating and sharing ideas with not only me and your classmates. So I try to propose a few activities. Sometimes I'll send these ahead if you have to bring anything ahead. But I've kind of got to the point where I look at the week as a whole and what kind of questions I get, what we're covering, and a day or so before come up with 3 or 4 things we do in these live sessions to sort of engage us in what we're talking about that week or the previous weeks or even the coming week forward. So sort of what's relevant to this time. I also want to do some things that are interactive. So tonight I actually went through and found some statistics on the trends towards distance course enrollment nationwide for higher education, post-secondary education, as well as high school education. So I know we have some people in the class maybe a little more high school focused. And so I'm going to share that with you, and I'm going to attempt to share my screen. I've done this before, but I can't guarantee it's going to be it's not going to be me doing this for 5 minutes trying to figure out what I'm doing. So the other thing I have to do here is shut down the other things that we're working on. I have a grant report and my stupid schedule. You don't want to see that I have to go get a filling next week or whatever on my calendar. So I'm taking a moment here as we're talking to sort of close this down and pull up my screen. One thing I like about Zoom is it has a really nice screen share. Those that are familiar with Adobe Connect has a very similar thing, but doesn't work as well. So I'm just actually going to share screen, and you have a blank for a second or two, so don't freak out. But it will actually, I'm going to share my desktop with you. So, and then you'll probably hear me say, did everybody see this? All right, so I'm going to try to pull up this here on the screen. And I don't know how well you can see it, but I'm going to zoom in here. And just let me know, so if I can't see everybody here, but in this view, I can only see a few of you. Shake your head or say, yes, I can see you. What's on the screen here? All right, thanks, Diane. So I want to talk about this table here a little bit. In particular, I'm going to give you a little assignment here. Can everybody see that okay? Okay, because everybody's screen's a little bit different size. This is from the NCS, which is now Center for Education Statistics. It's a government agency. They have statistics for all kinds of things. So if you are a student that's doing a thesis or dissertation and need this kind of data, it's not always current for that particular year because they do things on cycles. But this particular table shows, and I'm going to point it out here on the screen, and I'll highlight stuff, sort of trends in undergraduate students taking distance education courses. And from the table description, this is all done in percentage. So I want us to look at this first line, and it breaks things down by gender and ethnicity. But the table I really want you to look at is this line here. So in 2003, 2004, total distance education classes, and this percent of students taking those classes was 15% across all higher ed institutions, public, private, land grant, for-profit. And 10 years later, 9 years later, in that 2-year period, it was 32%, over double. So there's some other nice statistics here, but I want you to think about that a little bit. We're going to talk about this. And it also in the tape, this cell right here next to that statistics from, so I don't know if you can see there, I'm highlighting this. This 4.9 is actually the entire degree offered via distance, or those that do it completely. And then over here is exclusively online. So we're 8.4% of our undergraduate students are taking their degree entirely online. Exclusively online classes, and then 6.5 is entirely online. So I guess that discrepancy there probably is like students that, like that degree is only offered online versus not offered online, right? So we have some degrees here where you can do your classes online, but there's also a complimentary in-person class. So I want you to think about that a little bit, that trend. And it looks like it's been pretty steady. Also the 2007 statistics, you can look at that. Same thing here. What do you think the drivers, anybody want to share what they think the drivers are for this? It looks like increase in percentage of students taking online courses. Any thoughts about that?
Access to internet and other computer resources.
So the technology, what you're saying is the technology is more advanced, and so it allows them to take those classes?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Someone else in technology?
Flexibility, I would say. Flexibility, since so many people are working students now, and maybe they weren't in the 90s or early 2000s as much. Could you hear that okay?
Yes, we could. How about any other comments or thoughts?
I was talking with one student on campus today, and they were telling me that they take distance classes because on campus there aren't enough classes offered to give them a full schedule. So online gives them the flexibility to get to their full credit load.
I think there's some truth at UNL to that. We have a few that some of our classes are harder to get into. It's an option. What else?
Could there be just the fact that more people are attending school now, and this is one of the options that they have available?
Yep. I think that's definitely a possibility. Any comments on that? So we have technology. We have, I'm trying to see if I can find a whiteboard up here. Yeah, so we have tech. Look at that. Not very good. You can see how good my handwriting is with the computer stick there. Okay. We've got availability, right? By the way, there is a type tool, but I'm not going to use it because I want to be a rebel. You can see how bad truly my handwriting is. And then the last one, William, you said, what'd you say, William, at the end?
I'm sorry. I just said that that I thought there's just more students taking more classes, or there's more students attending classes, and the percentage of students is probably higher than it used to be.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
I'd also add the fact that it's seen as a viable option for education versus in the past, those online courses, they didn't think it was as good of a course as a face-to-face option would have been.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know, so I just give you a hint. Who was that spoke? I couldn't see on my screen.
Stephanie?
Yeah, so that would be a great thing to look at for one of your papers. Because I know that was definitely true 10 years ago. You know, even a lot of faculty would say, well, that degree isn't worth the same, or employers would say that. But I don't think that's the case anymore. At least around here, that culture isn't that way anymore. I think some of it has to do with all the factors you said, like availability of classes. Some of it is they've got rid of the old folks that wouldn't accept distance ed. But a lot of it is these students are getting employed, especially from reputable universities. And so, like, what's the difference, right? The quality's gone up, the ability to interact, the stuff they get involved in still there. So, yeah, I think that's probably all those things. Any other comments or thoughts?
I was just wondering, is there money available for like handicapped people to take online courses in comparison to on-class courses? I've never read anything about, you know, the handicap area of the student population, but I was just curious about it.
Well, I think, you know, there's definitely it affords some options for people. All of our classes are supposed to be handicap accessible. It's supposed to be compliant. I know that was a big push for institutions, ADA compliance several years ago. Actually, when I was at KU, I had a faculty member that was blind that taught online, did everything online. And she was awesome. I mean, I'm sure I was just gonna look her up here the other day, see where she landed. But she wanted to be an academic, and she was absolutely phenomenal. But she had a screen reader that read everything on the screen. The only problem is Blackboard, the tool we were using at Kansas and we used here at the time, it would not read the grade scores on the screen. So imagine trying to enter grades and it wouldn't tell you what the column heading was. It wasn't ADA compliant. And she was rightly very mad. And so I don't know if there's any money per se. I mean, I think there's schools, especially at high schools, that offer some custom, course offerings for folks that otherwise wouldn't be able to take those courses. But I don't know if there's money per se, and I guess I don't really know a lot about that. It'd be something you can investigate as a part of one of your papers if you're interested in that. I think it's a great idea to share or to do a project on. Anybody know? Have thoughts?
No, thank you. I didn't think about, the course had to be set up to be handicap accessible, even if it's at a home computer that, they have to have the technology to, like in her case for hearing or for the computer to give information auditorily, and if you're working with blind people, I guess you got to have other types of technology. So,
well, and come to think of it, the University of Kansas, their office, they're paid for her screen reading software, and she needed help with stuff, so I think we bought a copy of it, but I think it was like $1,000. It wasn't cheap. And I think Kansas subsidized it for her. She was a graduate student, research assistant, teaching assistant. But I think because she was a student there, they figured something out. She got a good cost on it. Right? We had to buy it separately, and it was crazy expensive. So that would maybe be an example of providing resources to students.
No, thank you. That answered my question.
Any other thoughts? Anybody disagree with any of these? If you can read my handwriting, tech, availability of courses, more students, therefore more opportunities to take these courses, more need. This is the only course they can get into. It's offered online. Viability, we had a couple others added. Mackenzie added, like, hey, it gives you an opportunity, especially like in massively open online courses, to take a course with the country expert on those things. Massively open online courses are those huge courses that are free, usually open, that anybody can take. So you can take it with, like, instead of taking a course with Dr. Golick, you can take a course with Bill Nye, the science guy, on science outreach, which would probably be a much better course than what I would offer. But, that's the cool thing. And then costs. It's just a cost issue. So think of cost of education. I was a student that had to work 30 hours a week to put myself through school. And I've heard it's even worse nowadays. The costs here at UNL has tripled in the 18 years I've been on undergraduate education. That's crazy, right? And a lot of students are having to work. Any disagreement with any of those? Thoughts on those additionally?
I was wondering if, like the shrinking world, right? So social media connects us in ways that we've never been connected before. We have a largely global economy. We're no longer that isolationist country and world. If that would contribute to, like, the availability, and I mean, you could be anywhere, you can take a class, there's just those more opportunities. It's not so reduced or localized, I guess, to like a certain university in a certain area.
I think there's probably some truth to that. I don't know if you knew this, but like our institution is part of a big 10 consortium for courses. And Wisconsin was one of the leaders. Wisconsin, Minnesota, and I think Illinois had sort of they have a degree. They had a degree, so I don't want to say they still have it, where you could take apart, like maybe half your courses at Wisconsin or through Wisconsin and the others through institutions and still get your degree. And so that is, if it's still in place, that was a big controversial thing, because then the Wisconsin would lose out on that money. And I don't know if they had a business model where they would send money back to the institution. But yeah, I think that is definitely something that's there. And the idea of global education, once again, when I was at Kansas, we had a faculty member there that taught, he called it Somalia University. But the courses were offered at the University of Kansas, and the students were in Somalia, in Mogadishu. It was actually called Mogadishu University. We're taking courses there and getting their degree jointly with Mogadishu University and University of Kansas. And they didn't have this technology. It was like chat, send you papers and assignments, and chat to the instructor. Pretty phenomenal. He had 11 students in that endeavor. So really, really cool. And Stephanie shared here, and if you look in your chat box, the Great Plains IDEA, which is that model. It's a shared program. Yeah, and I think, and Diane's bringing a point here about cost, and I don't know if you can see that also in the chat. You do here at the university pay more fees for distance education learning. And the idea of those fees is it goes into support things like Blackboard and other technologies that are paid for, and also to support the development of those courses. Folks like Stephanie are not free, that cost money, and she's, I think, in part supported through some of those funds and in that department. And so, it's sort of and maybe that's changed a little bit, Stephanie, so I don't want to misquote you there, but one time that was the case. So it does cost more money. I think it's a balance of, somebody like William is having to travel every day. Imagine he was taking classes at UNL and spending gas every day. It's going to cost a little more, maybe saving time and also maybe safety too, traveling places. Okay, so I actually took a screen capture. I didn't know if you saw this, but I was actually dragging something to the screen, actually captured my notes over here. I know you can't read them. I'm actually going to type the other ones up so we can see what the typing looks like. They're a case of another crazy thing that I do to show you what you like and you don't like. And then I'm going to pull up the statistics for high schools, and we'll look at those. So I actually looked at this earlier today, and I hope I got this right. Let's see here. I'm going to zoom in. Give me a second. Okay, so this is a very similar table, and it's done in percentages again, but they don't do this. They don't do the tables in the same way for the high school, at least in this report, the high schools. And this is from year 2009, 2010, so it's not a combined multi-year graphic like our other one. But it actually here pulls up percentages across school districts and in different locations and district enrollment size. And just to kind of explain the table, basically, districts with any students enrolled in distance education courses. In 2009-2010 school year, only 55% of the school districts had students enrolled in distance education courses. So if we look, we're going to compare to higher education here in a minute. But so out of those 55%, 6% of elementary schools had students that are taking a distance course. 19% had middle school and high schools. And out of those 55%, 96% of those were represented by students in high schools. The combined ungraded schools are like for like non-credit schools or not. You have to read the little graph down here, but they're not. We won't consider them in this particular graph tonight. But so only 55% of all the school districts they polled had students enrolled in a distance course. And really the highest representation was in high school. So the first question I have here is, why would it make sense that more students in these districts are enrolled in high schools? Any thoughts on that?
They're probably taking prerequisite college level coursework.
Okay.
Maybe there's more designed for that age level. You know, it's just more coursework is designed for high school students than the younger levels.
Okay. And you can see I'm frantically trying to write this stuff down. My text tool isn't working, so I'm going to go back to the old standard. Sorry, guys. So more offerings, right? More design that way, right? William, you said again.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so I thought there was just more. Well, I visited high school classes with my undergrad teacher education work through UNK, and some of the seniors, and juniors were taking course, graduate or college level, undergrad level, college level coursework to get a head start on their college degree. So and they had the high school schools had computers and the technology available for them to do that, through the school.
Okay. How about other ideas? Okay. Any other thoughts?
I think one thing is, as we look in the more rural areas, it allows students to take a wider diversity of classes, especially with budget cuts and limiting the teachers and extra classes offered in districts.
Okay. So specialized classes maybe, or other offerings. And someone else had mentioned sort of expertise. I think it relates to that. Like if you don't have an instructor that teaches that, let's maybe AP chemistry in rural areas. That isn't always found. You might have to go somewhere else to get it, right? And it isn't always convenient to travel an hour and a half somewhere to go get that. What else?
I would say the flip side of that, like the rural offerings, would also be the more urban offerings. Like if you have, thousands of students in a school, if some of those are online, they're not physically sitting in a particular area. So the school overcrowding, they could kind of divide them into classes that are perhaps more student to instructor ratios are a little bit more appropriate to facilitate those types of things. And
okay. I put too many students, but we'll know what that is. That's a good idea. Anything else?
Probably they have more opportunities to communicate with students from other cities or states. So might be more interesting to only like talk to your friends that from same cities.
Okay. Any others you can think of?
I was wondering, I have a question. Are there any classes being offered for like the high school level coursework to accommodate them with, actually getting through high school too? I've just heard of, students taking grad or college level coursework to get, head start. But is there actually internet coursework that's available to complete their high school curriculum also?
There is. And that was one I was going to mention if no one else mentioned it. I thought I was going to have one you guys didn't think of. So thanks, William. Yes, that is probably one of the biggest ones that I know of. Nebraska actually has an online high school, Nebraska High School, that has been around, 40s, maybe even older than that. You'll have to look. It's been around for, decades. And it was typically correspondence courses. Now it's been online for 20 years. And it is one of the most well-attended across the country. They have students in California, all over the country. I don't know how many states are involved. I think you might even have students out of the country. But if anybody wanted to look at that site, it is still around, or wanted to do a distance education, their sort of site visit on that, let me know, and I can maybe put you in touch with somebody over there. I think I still know a few names over there. But anyway, it's Coheed High School Online, and one of the biggest attendance is that degree completion. And homeschool, someone mentioned homeschool. Yeah, I think that's, thanks, Carrie, is a big one. All right, those are all great. And I'm not sure we're all going to disagree, or I don't think any of us are going to probably disagree with any of these. So we have more offerings, college credit, expertise, or specialist courses maybe not available in those rural areas. Too many students, so it offers, like the college courses offers up more opportunity to take these courses. Communicating with others, maybe outside of the state, so maybe unique opportunities to collaborate. Degree to completion, and then the homeschool element, so offerings for homeschool students. So, and then on the other side for college, we've got technology is now better, availability, maybe it's the only course you can get into, more students. We've seen two things there, the course only and more students. It's seen as a viable degree. Experts and specialists, that's almost like expertise and specialists in rural areas. And then cost issues. So the last question I have for tonight that I want to discuss is, we've got, if you look at these statistics, and we don't have exact numbers for the students here, and they actually do have a graph that says like 1.1 million course offerings were given to high school students, but you don't know if that's individual students or what that exactly means. But we have, I don't know if you remember in college, a huge number of students, 32%, and probably even greater if we looked at the last couple of years, of students taking courses online. And we have only 55 districts, which probably equals maybe, let's say, maybe it's 30%, 20% of students, 10% of students taking online courses. To me, it seems like there's a little bit of a disparity between the number of students taking high school courses and college courses, and those number of credits offered, certainly. So do you see any potential problems with that as sort of transitioning to college, where they might be taking a good portion of the courses online, where maybe they don't have as many in high school students, or maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe they get all the training when they get there. Anybody want to talk and comment on that? I'm going to find some friends here. So if you don't speak, I'm going to call the people I actually know and have met. Any thoughts about that? It looks to me, if you look at these statistics, that there's less students in high school taking these online courses and more in college. Or there'll be more of them taking them in college. So Diane, actually Stephanie, Diane are the two that left the first one. One said, Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, instructor really probably either, you can explain, either high school or college has to set them up for success in that learning environment. Do you want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, just basically, at least speaking from students at the university now taking online courses, the instructor needs to let them know, here's sort of what's going to take place in this environment. Here are some of the differences as far as you need to be getting on your LMS consistently and checking in and working on your homework. You need to be, answering the discussion board posts and keeping tabs on everything that's due inside the class, because the online student has to be more responsible because you're not having that face time with the instructor as much anymore with those daily reminders going out. There's the LMS, at least with Canvas now, there is a bit of a better job with the notification systems and the way the instructors can set up due dates and the way the LMS works with notifications to the student side, if it goes to their mobile devices, email, etc., to be a little bit more friendly for those. But again, it's still the student needing to understand how that environment is completely different than what they're used to and what those expectations are and how to meet them.
Diane, you also had a comment?
Yes, I think that there's a steep learning curve for a lot of students who are used to a little bit more of a social interaction in class and kind of having those active learning environments, which are a little bit harder maybe to mimic online.
How so?
Well, for example, if you're asked to work in a small group and discuss a topic that the instructor has presented, then maybe that would be harder to facilitate online, at least as rapidly.
Okay. How about other comments related to this?
I think I would just echo what the other folks, what Stephanie and Diane have said, and that it really is going to depend a lot upon their experience in high school and how independent they were, how successful then they're going to be independent, more independent with online learning. Because I find like I have some junior, senior level college students who don't stay on top of deadlines and we're in class with each other. And I give them reminders. So it's like, oh, that might be kind of rough for those students, especially as entering freshmen, to make that kind of adjustment.
So do you think it's up to the responsibility of the instructor to help students along? Or do you think, you need to put that on students more?
By the time they're in college, I feel like it's really on the student, but it's good for the instructor to be aware of these statistics, and especially, for freshman level courses, maybe reminders don't hurt. But yet again, like in Blackboard, it's amazing how you can post announcements and students won't have the correct email set up to receive those announcements. So I think the onus has to be on the students once they get to college, but I think it's good, especially if you teach, more entry-level courses, to have awareness of that, help their success maybe with those reminders.
And Glennis brought up a good point with that. It's funny because she makes a point here in which I agree with, is I paid for my own college. So for me, it was like, I'm going to get my most out of it. It was very motivating. My parents thought all of a sudden I became a genius overnight, where in high school it was like, whatever, I was smart. I just wasn't motivated. I was motivated when I was paying for it myself. That is not true for most students. Most students aren't motivated by that. Either parents or they're paying for it. It's just they're not motivated by, okay, I want to get my full worth out of it. We are here probably because we're all very successful students. You're all in your master's level or beyond, and we're like the successful people. And most students aren't that way. So we always have to kind of put ourselves in context for ourselves. And I agree, Diane. Also pointed out here that other new products, I'm glad you mentioned this, I was going to mention this, are more user-friendly. So a lot of these new products like Canvas actually are better at pushing things out to students, forcing students to make profiles and update things. Blackboard is not. It's like 2005 technology. Okay, it really is. And that sounds dorky to say that, but I mean, it really is how course sites looked in 2005. Okay, so we are finishing tonight. I want to make sure I'm not lying about keeping things on an hour. I have one last activity for you. In the past, and we're not going to do this. We're going to show you some new technology. You're all probably aware of it. We're going to do the online context. In the past, I've said, hey, is this experience good or bad for you? And you raise your thumb up or down. We're going to use Poll Everywhere tonight. You can do it on your phone here. I'm going to share my screen, and you can see that in the chat box, I've given you the poll. It's yes or no. Was tonight's experience well worth it? It says from Doug Golick to everyone. There's a gnarly Forest 053. I didn't make that up. That's what Poll Everywhere did. There's a link you can click on, do it online, or do it via your phone. And I'll share this with you, and we can see the polls come in live. So as I'm doing this, I will try to share it here. And we'll see if everybody thought it was worth it, this experience tonight and the activities involved. And let me know if you cannot actually do this. Is anybody able to do it?
So are we supposed to just be able to click on the link and then it goes?
Yep.
I can't do it, but I might be doing it wrong.
Well, it could be that I haven't launched it. So here we go.
Okay.
Let's do it. Oh, yeah, here, someone said yes. Hold on a second. Let me give you that again. It's supposed to be live.
Jessica said you have to create an account.
Oh, I have an account, but you should be able to get it with this one.
We should without creating an account. Okay.
Yeah, it's like the test one. So, Mackenzie, don't laugh and say that this course stinks. This is what happens when you try new things out. I've actually done this before, but I don't know why it's not doing it tonight. I guess it's probably been a little while since I've used this product. I just thought of it. Usually I just have you tell me what's good. So, no one can get in? I mean, really? No one can get in? Oh, my gosh. Let me post this again for you. I'll give you a new link. We got to at least get some of this to work. All right, one last time here. Here. Yes, it works. Now your instructor just has to actually get back and get into the share screen mode.
This is Bill. I wrote yes. Is that what you wanted me to do? Okay.
Well, you just click on the yes or no object, and I'll go to live results here. So far 100%. I don't know what the N is on respondents, but it looks pretty good so far. I suppose I could change that, but you know, this is one cool way if it works and you're smoother and have this set up ahead of time. Actually, as we were finishing the conversation up, I just popped into here and set up Poll Everywhere. But you know, there are products like Adobe Connect that have this built in. But you know, what's cool about this product is you can use this in Blackboard. There's actually an embed where you can take much like a YouTube video and embed it. And anyway, I kind of like to use these because it's sort of anonymous, but it's a really cool, slick way. All kinds of questions you can use. Yes, you can buy a more expensive account. I have one to do this on. I just don't want to bother logging in. That you can save responses, get hundreds of people, thousands of people to share their responses via Poll Everywhere. How many of you, I guess, in the chat box, type Y if you've used it, and if you don't respond, I know you didn't do it. I just get a sense of how many you've actually used this product. So we are at, just looking at these come in, I'm actually polling via the chat window. It's not anonymous though, right? But you can actually post things anonymously or not, or to an individual instructor. So this is another way you can do sort of polling with a small group like this. We're at about 30% of you, just look at the numbers here, have actually used a product like this or used this product. So just want to expose you to another tool as you go on in the course. So we are at 1 hour and 3 minutes since we started. I want to make sure I wrap this up. Any questions, comments tonight, anything else anybody wants to share with the group? Otherwise, you are free to go. Anybody wants to stay on for a couple more minutes, I'm happy to do that. Thank you so much for participating tonight and be a part of this. and just sort of experiencing this with me. A lot of this course to me is you guys experiencing things. So you did it tonight, you participated, and you got to see some good things that I did, some bad things I did. It didn't work out so well. All right. Otherwise, I'll stick on for a couple more minutes if other people have individual questions or wants to stick on for a little bit, okay? Thank you very much. Those that want to go are free to go. We'll see you later. We'll do this in a couple weeks.
Thanks.
Thank you.